Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And today we're going to continue with our literature unit for the month of April. Remember, our featured novel is The Chocolate War, A Student Disturbs the Universe. Now, this book came out way back in 1974 in the United States, and it's a pretty popular young reader's novel, so maybe you might want to consider reading it yourself. Although, like I said last time, there are a few problems with this book concerning the language. I think they use a lot of violence and sexual themes as well, which we didn't talk about, but maybe your parents or your teachers might be uncomfortable letting you read this, so make sure you have permission first. But in any case, let's talk about the Chocolate War today. More specifically, we're going to talk about the author and then some of the themes and ideas in this book.
We're going to talk today about the author, Robert Cormier. Tom and I were talking about how to pronounce his name, but we looked it up online. He says Cormier. I would have said Cormier. It's kind of a French name there, but Cormier. A lot of people from other countries, after they move to the United States, actually change the pronunciation of their name so that Americans, it's probably because too many Americans say it wrong. But anyway, we're going to talk about a little bit about his background and then some of the major themes of this book. Let's get started.
Robert Cormier was born in 1925 in Massachusetts, U.S. The rigid discipline he experienced at his Catholic elementary school later influenced his depictions of school life in his novels. After graduating from Fitchburg State College, Cormier worked mainly as a journalist and wrote fiction on the side. His first substantial success came with his 1974 young adult novel, The Chocolate War. Many of his novels deal with pessimistic, controversial themes and contain offensive language and violence. Some have been banned in schools. In 1991, he won the American Library Association's Margaret A. Edwards Award, a Lifetime Achievement Award for authors of young adult books. Cormier died in 2000 at the age of 75. The major themes in The Chocolate War are the individual versus society, struggles with power, and manipulation and control. By refusing to sell chocolate, Jerry goes against the flow and suffers hostility and confrontation as a consequence. He attempts to change the community through independent thought and action, yet realizes in the end that one person can't always triumph in these situations. Cormier's message in this book is that life isn't always fair. Through his protest, Jerry disturbs the constant power struggle between the story's villains, Brother Leon and Archie. Brother Leon and the Vigils hold each other in check by being involved in each other's abuse of power, yet they also compete for authority. They both get the upper hand by psychologically manipulating students through the power of fear. This can be seen in Archie's assignments and how Brother Leon manipulates the Vigils into helping with the chocolate sale. He also allows a dangerous fight on school property because it's to his own advantage. Archie and Brother Leon exert control over others for their own gain.
Okay, guys, Robert Cormier. He was born back in 1925 in the state of Massachusetts. That's on the East Coast of America. And it says here the rigid discipline he experienced at his Catholic elementary school later influenced his depictions of school life in his novels. So it sounds like he didn't go to a Catholic high school, a private high school, but he did attend a Catholic elementary school. Again, if you see a religion posted in front of the elementary school or high school, you can be sure it's a private school that parents are paying extra money to have their kids attend. I don't know how much Catholic schools cost, but some of the private schools are quite expensive. In Arizona, I've got some family members who are sending their kids to charter schools. So they're learning more, they're getting a better education. It's not quite as expensive as private. Private schools are quite expensive, but you have a better chance of getting into really good universities if you have a good education. High school, I have to admit to you guys, high school was pretty easy when I was in high school. I only studied for 2 classes. One of them was AP English, which is a college-level English class. Actually, that's the only one I had to study for. The rest of them are pretty easy. I think it's different in Taiwan. I think their high schools are harder than our high schools.
Oh, yeah.
But their colleges are easier than our colleges.
That's what they always say.
It's true.
College entrance examination is so difficult that they basically let you enjoy your college years after you pass that test. But, I was going to say that in my hometown, there was a private Catholic elementary school.
Oh, really?
St. Pat's, I think it was called, St. Patrick's Elementary School. A good friend of mine went there, and then I met him later when he started going to regular school. But I think they later closed that school. But they're still around, and in this particular case, Robert Cormier went to an elementary school, a Catholic elementary school, and his experiences there later influenced his depictions of school life in his novels. So I guess we could say the Chocolate War is kind of based on his own personal experiences. And after graduating from Fitchburg State College, Cormier worked mainly as a journalist and wrote fiction on the side. So he went to some college there called Fitchburg State College, and then he worked as a reporter, a journalist, writing news stories for newspapers, but he wrote fiction in his free time on the side.
Some of the things that really influenced him when he went to this Catholic elementary school is he thought that it was very rigid. If a school or even a person is very rigid, they are not very flexible. They don't want to change or adapt to a situation. Take it or leave it. So if you have a teacher who's rigid, you might need to take a day off, for a family outing or some sort of family thing, but your teacher would be really upset about that because school is more important. Just, not very willing to change the way they look at things or bend the rules a little bit, Maybe you were sick and that's why your paper is a day late. If a teacher's very rigid, they would say, it doesn't matter. I don't care that you were sick. That's the due date. But if you have a more flexible teacher, they would say, oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah, turn it in a day late. That's fine. Discipline. Discipline is when you do as you're supposed to do. You follow the rules. You control yourself. You do as you should do. If you see that someone has been disciplined, it means they've been punished for doing something wrong. So at these schools, they had a lot of rules. I have heard that from a couple of friends. One of my best friends went to a Catholic high school back in New York. And yeah, it was an all-girls school, very different from my experience. Oh, my goodness. But they had lots of rules. But it seemed like the kids were even wilder because they had so many rules.
Yeah, when they're free, of course, they go nuts. But, of course, in school, they have to behave themselves.
Yeah.
They have to do what they're told. So we've got this strict discipline or rigid discipline in the school. And, of course, that later influenced his novels. Remember, he worked as a journalist mostly, but he wrote fiction on the side. I think they said that about Hemingway as well.
Yeah.
He was mostly a journalist, but wrote his novels on the side. And here, back to Robert Cormier. His first substantial success came with his 1974 young adult novel, The Chocolate War. So, yes, this is a novel for young readers, and this came out way back in 1974, but the themes and ideas are still valid today. Young adults still face these problems in private schools or even public schools, so I'm sure if you choose to read this book, you will relate to a lot of things that go on.
Many of his novels deal with pessimistic, controversial themes and contain offensive offensive language and violence. This is why I've read that some schools have banned the book in their library so that kids can't check it out and read it. If you talk about something that's pessimistic, there's not very much hope in it. It's very dark. It'll never get better. So we have 3 words that are used to describe someone's outlook on life, how they deal with things that come up. There's the pessimistic outlook, which just tends to see the worst in everybody, and the worst will always happen. So they're kind of depressing to hang around, these people who are pessimistic. Then in the middle, there's the realist. They kind of, they see the good and the bad, and they're able to just function that way. And then there's the optimistic person, or the optimist, who always sees the best in life. That's my father. Everything is always great. We're going to get through this, And then my mom was more realistic. So it was kind of interesting to see those two work against each other. The novel deals with very pessimistic controversial themes. Controversial themes include themes where people disagree and debate about things. An example of a controversial theme might be abortion. People are very much against it, or they want to have that ability to, abort babies. So that's a controversial theme. Now, offensive language, another casual way to talk about that would just be swear words. There are a lot of swear words in that book, or they cuss a lot. C-U-S-S, they cuss a lot in that book. And of course, there's violence. We talked about that, where Emil is beaten up, but Jerry's really severely beaten. So it's a tough novel. I think if I were a mom with a young adult, I probably would wait to have them read this when they're a little older.
Indeed. I think my parents would probably have let me read it. I think they want me to know that the world is not necessarily a fun place. And some have been banned in schools. So indeed, some of these books, some of his novels besides this one, have been banned. They just say, nope, you're not going to read this book in this school. We're
not going to buy it. Yeah, it's not going to be there.
We're not going to deal with this. Sometimes books are banned. Schools sometimes have that right to ban a book if they find it offensive. Maybe you can all talk about some books that have been banned at your schools. But in any case, we'll come back and continue talking about the Chocolate War in just a second. But please stay tuned while we listen to our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 看完《巧克力战争》，我们要来认识一下作者罗伯·寇米耶，生于1925年。他小学呢所遭受的严格的纪律稍后呢影响到他对于学校生活的描述。在第2句的地方 ，rigid 是严格的 ，discipline 是当名词纪律、训导的意思。School discipline 就是校规，它也可以当作动词表示训练或教导，后面直接加受词。例如说 discipline myself 就是控制自己。后面的 he experienced 是一个省略 which 的形容词子句来形容前面的 discipline。主要动词是 influence 影响。好，影响它也可以用 affect 来代替。那对什么有影响，就可以说 have an influence on something。我们看第3句，在大学毕业之后，他呢是担任一个记者的工作，有时兼差写小说。Journalist 是记者，它是 journal 杂志，再加字为 ist 表示人 journalist 文字记者。如果我们讲报道的主播，就是 anchor A-N-C-H-O-R， 一般对记者的通称是用 reporter 这个生字。后面的 on the side 表示兼职的意思，是主要工作之外在做的另外一份工作。如果在餐厅点餐，要求 server 将薯条放在旁边，我们也可以用 on the side 这个字，就说 Please have the fries on the side.
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, we shall now continue with our discussion about the Chocolate War. It's the 3rd and final day of our discussion regarding this month's work of literature, The Chocolate War. And we were talking about the writer himself, Robert Cormier. Okay, so he had these experiences when he went to Catholic elementary school. They had rigid discipline there, so that, of course, later influenced his novels. He went to college, he was a journalist, wrote fiction on the side, but his major success was The Chocolate War, which came out in 1974. But be warned, lots of his novels deal with pessimism and controversial themes and offensive language and also violence. I know lots of boys love that sort of stuff, and so they probably really want to read this book. Oh, really? It's got that stuff in it? Where is it? I want to read it, but maybe more sensitive people would not be so comfortable with this book, so yeah, we need to warn you about that.
Yeah, so it sounds like he focused mainly on the young adult audience out there when he was doing his writing. He did die in 2000. He was pretty young. I think 75 is kind of young nowadays.
Sounds young,
yeah, Cormier died in 2000. So the major themes, let's talk about that. What did the author want to communicate? Why was he writing? Most authors have something to say about the world. That's why they write. And if they didn't want to communicate anything, they wouldn't get their books published. They could just write in a journal. So the major themes are the individual versus society. Yeah, it's very hard sometimes for people to stand up against a crowd, but that's what Jerry did. There are struggles with power between Brother Leon and Archie. They both were struggling to be the most powerful. I think it was kind of an easy competition, though, because Brother Leon actually did have power as the assistant headmaster and Archie was a student. But if you have the ability to manipulate and control people, that gives you a lot of power. And I think Archie, even though he was young, he had that ability. So those are some of the themes: manipulation, power, and control, controlling people. I think it's kind of scary what people will do when they get into a big group. We'll sometimes describe that group as being a mob, M-O-B, mob of violence. We'll see that mobs are willing to do things they would never do if they were alone.
Indeed. So again, we're focusing on Jerry here. He's the main character in this novel. Remember, he's a freshman. His mom died of cancer. He joins the football team, but Archie kind of picks on him. So here in this particular case, by refusing to sell chocolate, Jerry goes against the flow and suffers hostility and confrontation as a consequence. Okay, so he's going against the flow. If you do like everybody else is doing, you don't rock the boat. You are going with the flow, okay? You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're not causing trouble. But if you go against the flow, sometimes we say go against the grain, or if you fly in the face of something, that means you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And of course, you're going to make other people angry. Why are you causing this trouble? If you keep doing it, we're going to have to do something to make you pay, to teach you a lesson, to discipline you so that you never do it again.
Well, he goes against the flow and suffers hostility. Hostility is just hostile behavior. When people are really unfriendly, they're aggressive toward you. It's not fun to be on the receiving end of hostility. That's bad. Oh, he's so hostile. Sometimes people will pronounce this word as hostile. I say hostile. They're both correct. Hostility is the noun. Hostile is the adjective. Confrontation is the noun form of the verb to confront. If you confront somebody, you kind of get in their face, right? You get right in their face and you argue with them. You're not afraid. You don't back down. You actually do want to kind of have either an argument or maybe even a fight. Confrontation. So Jerry has to suffer these things because he decides to not go with the group. He stands up for what he believes in, and he ends up suffering.
Yep, he has this confrontation, the boxing match in the football stadium, and he attempts to change the community through independent thought and action. He tries to be someone who stands up with new ideas, yet he realizes in the end that one person can't always triumph in these situations. Indeed, it's one against hundreds of other people, so you can't always win. Triumph here means that you basically win. Basically, you are able to defeat something. You are able to be victorious. You're able to be on top. So, yes, one person can't always win. One person always can't triumph in these situations. Usually, you will suffer the consequences.
Yeah, and Cormier's message in the book is that life isn't always fair. I always want people to try to do the right thing, but even sometimes when you do the right thing, you suffer. So through his protest, Jerry disturbs the constant power struggle between the story's villains, that's Brother Leon and Archie. They work together sometimes because they need each other's power, but they actually want to be the strongest leaders, so they want to defeat each other. A villain is actually just the bad guy. Who's the villain in the movie? Oh, who's the villain in that novel? Who's the bad guy? Or sometimes you'll hear people say, he's wearing the black hat. The black hat is the bad guy. The white hat is the good guy. So the Vigils, remember that's the group that Archie runs, they actually hold each other in check. They prevent each other from ultimately gaining the power and being the number one leader by each, working against each other. So they're involved in this power struggle, we could say, their abuse of power, and they're also competing for that authority. So they both get the upper hand. If you get the upper hand, guys, it means you have control in a situation where you're fighting against somebody else. Get the upper hand. How do they do that? Well, they psychologically manipulate the students there through the power of fear, which I think is just horrible.
I think they're basically just threatening them.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, then you're going to suffer. You're going to experience great pain, more pain than you've ever felt in your life before. You will beg for us to actually kill you.
Yeah, remember they told Emil that they were going to release a photo of him? And so they got him to go beat up Jerry.
Yep, that's manipulation there, psychological manipulation. And this can be seen in Archie's assignments, like the one you just mentioned, and also getting somebody to remove the screws from the teacher's room, and also how Brother Leon manipulates the Vigils into helping with the chocolate sale. Remember, Brother Leon is getting kind of a kickback.
Getting money from it, yeah.
That's right, from the chocolate sale. So he uses the Vigils to get them to help him with that chocolate sale. He also allows a dangerous fight on school property because it's to his own advantage. So, yeah, that's what this assistant headmaster does. He lets this fight take place.
The boxing match, yeah.
The boxing match, indeed. And usually they're not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to condone violence. They're supposed to say, no, you guys can't do that. That's against school rules. But he actually allows it to take place.
Yeah, if you condone something, you're giving your approval for something. And he's the assistant headmaster. He should have been the first one to say, no, we're not going to have a boxing match where students hit each other and punch. So Archie and Brother Leon exert control over others for their own gain. Oh, they're awful. They're master manipulators. If you exert control, it means you apply that control or apply pressure to influence a situation. So, yeah, you can exert yourself in good ways, but here is definitely negative. They exert control over others because they're going to benefit or gain something from doing so. Right now, someone who never exerts control over anyone to gain. No, is our Chinese teacher. We're going to listen right now.
好，接着我们来讨论一下巧克力战争的主题。我们到第二段的地方，第二句，因为巨卖巧克力 Jerry 呢跟主流背道而驰，而且饱受一些敌意和冲突。Go against the flow， flow 是流动的意思。The flow of traffic 就表示车流。Against 是反对，所以 go against the flow 与主流背道而驰。再举一个例子，他与主流背道而驰，要求加税，就可以说 He went against the flow to raise the taxes。如果跟主流是一样的呢，那我们就把 against 改成 with。后面生字 hostility 敌意不友好，它的形容词 hostile H-O-S-T-I-L-E 表示敌意的。Confrontation 是冲突。后面 as a consequence 它是一个习惯用语，表示结果的意思，也可以写成 in consequence。下一句 他试着要改变这个群体，透过独立的思考和行为。好 ，attempt 是动词，表示尝试或试图，这是比较正式的用字。它的用法 attempt to 加动词，表示努力设法做什么事情，而这件事情通常很难，是明知不可为而为之。另外 try 试试看，这个生字呢，它的含义是说去做，看结果会怎么样。比如说试看看这新口味，就用 try the flavor。所以这两个字定义是不太相同的，同学可以做一些理解。好，后半句说，但最后呢，一个人是没有办法战胜这些情况的。Triumph 动词表示取得胜利，在什么事情取得胜利，加 over 再加 something。 我们到第3段来看雅琪和雷恩修士。我们看第2句的地方，雷恩修士和守夜会彼此控制对方，借由参与对方的滥权。 Hold in check， check 是检查或支票的意思， Hold something in check也就是说控制或限制。这个 hold 也可以用 keep 变成 keep something in check。 Each other 是彼此的意思，相当于 one another， 彼此控制。我们拿控制再来做一个例子，我们必须控制浪费， We should hold the waste in check。 后面说借由参与彼此的滥权，Being involved in 就是参与的意思，动词原形 involve 参与。不过指某人在参与什么事情，经常是用被动的形态，在 in 后面加上受词，表示参与什么事情。Abuse 泛滥，滥权就是 abuse of a power。好，后面说他们呢竞相争取一些权利，就 compete for 加这个东西。我们再跳到最后一句的地方，有一个生字 exert 是运用或行使权威或权力的意思，后面直接加受词，表示说施加什么的东西。例如说施加你的影响力，就可以说 exert your influence。 在这里呢 control 是控制，控制他人 over something。 好，雅琪跟雷恩修士啊，为了他们自己的利益来控制他人。再补充一下，如果 exert 后面是加反身代名词 oneself， 那变成努力或尽力的意思。例如说我太累了，心有余力不足，就可以说 I was too tired to exert myself。 以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
That's all for today. Thank you so much for listening to our program, and please join us again next time for another edition of our program. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.